Dance Moms was such an iconic reality show. People were fascinated by the lives of these young dancers and their stage moms that constantly argued with their dance teacher, Abby Lee Miller. As the years have gone on, people have called out the toxicities of the show, and some of the girls have come out to talk about what it was really like filming the show and being in that environment. A lot of them are no longer in touch with Abby and don't like to talk about this time in their life, but recently a few of the girls have come out to talk a little bit more about their experience. And I talked about how not too long ago Kendall talked about her time on the show while she was on a podcast, and she wasn't shy about calling out Abby and the producers of the show. And now Maddie is speaking out in a new interview with Emrata. Maddie is 20 now, and she was talking about her life as a dancer and how she started when she was super little, and when she was 6 or 7 is when she was scouted for Dance Moms, and her whole life basically changed. And she had already been competitively dancing since she was 4, but this was a whole new world coming into Dance Moms. She said that she had blocked out so much of her childhood, so she doesn't even really remember what life was like before she started working, because once she was on Dance Moms, that was her job, and then she was an influencer basically after that. I mean, people know who she is, and she never really stopped working, so she doesn't really remember a time where she wasn't. And she says that it's really weird that she did start working at such a young age, and since she blocked out so much of the stuff that happened on Dance Moms, she'll see stuff on apps like TikTok and not even know that that was something that she had said or done, because she just doesn't remember it. And like, it's so weird to see bits of her childhood on the internet and be like, I can't believe like I did that. But she said something she struggles with to this day is from back then, because there was so much pressure put on her at such a young age to be the best. She says now she's in a place where she's no longer putting pressure on herself and is trying to shift her focus onto other things, and it's been a relief for her, because Abby was always making her feel like she had to be the best or she wasn't good enough. And that was like the whole storyline of the show, was that Maddie was this golden child. She was perfect, she was amazing, and it really did have a lot of like effects on her.
It's honestly a struggle every day that I deal with. Not every day, but like even now I'm really trying to unpack like all of those, like my thought process when I was younger, also through my dance teacher, was like, you have to be the best. If you don't win, you're not good. And so that was like the mentality when I was so little, and I was such a perfectionist and I was so hard on myself, and now I'm trying to unlearn all those traits.
Talking more about the show, Maddie says that people could say that she was seen as the lead dancer or the most well-treated dancer, but she says that looking back, other people have said this too to her, that she actually had the most pressure put on her compared to anybody else, because Abby was constantly wanting her to be perfect and telling her that she needed to win, and that really affected her. She also says that she can't really watch the show back aside from the dances. She thinks it's nice to see how she's progressed as a dancer and everything, but the rest of the show, she can't really watch it. And then she ends up revealing that the producers of the show fed her lines when she was really young, so she came across a certain way on screen, and it's not really who she was, and it made her sad when she first saw how she looked on the show.
It's also interesting because when I was doing the show in the first season, I mean, I was 7, there was male producers saying like, this is what you have to say. And I thought, I was like, my mom wasn't in the room, so I was like, okay, I just have to do whatever I'm being told. And so I would literally they would say you're the best, say you're better than everyone else, say blah, blah, blah. And so I was perceived kind of like a little brat in the first season. And I remember we watched the first episode at like a viewing party for like the launch of the show. And I just cried because I was like, oh my gosh, everyone thinks I'm this, like, and I'm not, I'm 7.
It's just so sad to hear how the producers like fed these kids lines that they didn't even like want to say, and it wasn't even like true to their own character, because of course, like when you hear about reality television, you know it's like scripted to some extent. The producers are trying to film and make a story, they're trying to make it entertaining, but we're talking about kids. Like, that's just so freaking sad, and clearly it's affected a lot of these girls. They've come out and talked about it. Even Kendall recently talked about her experiences just being on set filming Dance Moms, and the producers and how they really kept them away from their moms and things like that, and it just sounds so sad.
A lot of the people who are behind the cameras working it, like the producers, the cameramen, they were all like grown men telling little girls like, okay, go sit in the bathroom, we're gonna lock you in there while your parents are fighting. Like they would lock us in bathrooms or closets or rooms to keep us away from the drama so we wouldn't interfere. And like just that, like when it was happening, I wasn't even thinking about it, but now I'm like, wow, like we really let these people trap us in rooms for hours, having no idea what was happening to our moms. And we're just like sitting ducks. Like we have no idea what's going on, but we had to follow what they told us to do, or else like we'd probably be going home the next day.
Maddie goes on to say that being so young, you don't realize that you can say no and stand up for yourself. And she said that her mom had recently apologized to her for all of this, since seeing the lingering effects of what being on the show so young did to her girls.
Last year, my mom, I was having a really bad panic attack, and I called my mom, and I was just, things were coming up from the past, and she apologized to me, and she was like, I'm so sorry that I put you through that. And it's so sad because it's like, she would never want to hurt us.
Of course.
But none of us knew how crazy it would get.
She said that after 6 seasons of the show, her mom tried to break the contract, and also Sia tried to help get Maddie and her sister out of Dance Moms as well, and luckily they were able to do so.
So we did 6 seasons of the show, and so I got out when I was 11 or 12, and she really like did everything to try and break our contract and pull us out, and eventually did.
Wow.
With the help of Sia, she helped us a lot too. But it was hard. But
because they basically had you bound in contract.
Totally, because we signed on for so long.
She says she still does keep in touch with some of the original girls, even though they all live such different lives now, but they have such an understanding of each other because of going through and being on Dance Moms together. And something I found really interesting, because I never thought about this, but she says that now that they're all young adults and they're all hanging out with each other, they're hanging out with each other alone. And it's like the first time that they're really hanging out without their parents around. And they're realizing like how chill everything is. Like their moms were always around when they were hanging out when they were younger, and there was like drama, and it was a huge part of the show, and there was just like always something going on. And so now when they get together, it's just like, wow, things are like really calm, and it's just such a trippy thing for them. And I just never thought about the fact that when they do get together now, it's totally different because they're older and their moms are not fighting around them, so they like actually get to like talk to each other and like be normal. But going back to Sia, I think a lot of people wonder what her relationship is like with Maddie now, because Maddie danced for her for so long, and I know that throughout the years some people started to think that it was like a little weird because Maddie was really young and Sia made Maddie like her muse and everything. And I honestly didn't even know if they were still in contact anymore, but at Coachella this year, weekend 2, they both came out and performed alongside Labyrinth. Maddie was dancing, Sia was singing with Labyrinth. So I knew that they were on good terms, and Maddie talked about how Sia was sort of this guardian angel to her at the time of Dance Moms because she really gave her an out.
She really felt like a guardian angel to me, like at that time. She like saved me from like the show and everything I was doing. Like it was such a like wow, I couldn't believe that she came into my life, and I was so grateful. And I think now looking back, I really am able to understand like all that she did for me, and
especially
how special.
Getting you off the show and being able to...
Oh my gosh.
She said that Sia actually apologizes to her for putting the pressure on her of being her muse and everything. And Maddie says that these were actually some of the best moments in her life, looking back, and like her career highlights. And she's really thankful to Sia. And now Maddie is really just trying to figure out what she wants to do as an adult with her career. Originally, she wanted to dance and be on Broadway, but now she has shifted to wanting to act. And she has done several films so far. She was in The Fallout, which is so good. It's very triggering, I will say, but it's very good. And she's also in West Side Story dancing. It's been quite the ride for her, that's for sure, but she seems to be in a really good place now, which is good. And I've heard rumors of a potential Dance Moms reunion happening. That's something that Kendall recently mentioned. I would be absolutely shocked to see Maddie be a part of it, because she wouldn't even say Abby's name or the name of the show. Like, she didn't say Dance Moms once in this interview. So I think that she would probably choose to not be part of that reunion, but I guess we'll just have to see. But that is what is going on with Maddie. That is what she had to say. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. I love you guys so much, and I will talk to you in the next video. Bye, guys.